Hi guys, it's Andy. So today's video is going to be a Pinterest dupes tested video. I'm very familiar with all these products. I've been using them and trying them out for the past couple weeks. So I'm able to give you guys pretty much a full review on them. I'm super duper excited and yeah, we can just get on into it. So our first products are foundations, and I have the Estee Lauder Double Wear and the Milani Conceal and Perfect. I will be doing the drugstore on this side of my face and the high end on this side of my face. The only thing I hate about this foundation is that it doesn't come with a pump. You have to like buy it separately, but I just pour it out in my hand, and this is honestly enough to cover my entire face. It's a little bit of a runnier consistency foundation, but it still has a little bit of like thickness to it, but it's not like wet, you know? And I like using it with a paddle brush because you really get the full coverage effect of it. And this foundation is so beautiful. It literally just looks like skin. It just, oh my gosh, it looks absolutely perfect. And the longest I have worn this foundation was like 16 hours, and it did completely stay. So that is what one layer of that looks like on totally full coverage, and this is absolutely my favorite foundation ever. So this is the Milani Conceal and Perfect now, and this does have a pump, which is nice. And you guys can see it's a lot more whipped and then thicker. So it's like, it forms peaks when you squirt the foundation out, whereas the Estee Lauder one just kind of is flat and really liquidy. Because this one is a different texture, I like using it with a beauty blender. The longest this foundation has lasted on me is 8 hours, and that was with a setting spray. It's slightly less full coverage than the Estee Lauder one, but that is probably just because I'm using a beauty blender. I have used a paddle brush with it before, and I just find because it's a thicker consistency, it tends to get very streaky, but you can always just like buff it away. It's not a big deal. So this is what these two sides look like, and definitely if you were to look at my face right now, you couldn't tell that I was wearing two different foundations, but I think in 8 hours you would definitely be able to tell, because the Estee Lauder one will stay for like 16 hours even if you don't set it, whereas the Milani one will only last a max of 8 hours. So I do not think these two are dupes, unfortunately, but let's move on to the next product. So I did go ahead and color correct already, and our next two products are concealers. So this is the Nars Creamy Radiant Concealer and the Maybelline Fit Me Concealer. Again, the drugstore side will be this side, and the high-end side will be this side. You guys can probably see the shades of them are also different. The Maybelline one is in the shade medium, and then I'm using the shade Custard for the Nars Radiant Creamy. The Nars is a lot thicker than the Maybelline one, so if you use too much, it very easily gets cakey. And the only reason I do like the Nars one better is because the Maybelline one does crease a tad bit more, but this is them blended out. Even with color corrector underneath, I do not think these are full coverage enough for me, because you guys know I have super bad dark circles. But I think the Nars one did cover up a little bit better. So the Nars one is definitely thicker, and the Maybelline one definitely creases a little bit more, and they both definitely don't have full coverage, even though the Nars has a little bit more coverage. But overall, I do think these two are dupes, so they get the thumbs up for me. So our next supposed dupe is an eyeshadow. So this is Stella's Kitten, and this is their Eyes Are the Window to the Soul eyeshadow palette. And then I have the L'Oreal Infallible Pressed Pigment in the shade AA8 Iced Latte. So this is what Stella's Kitten looks like, and I did put on primer before this, but it was just my MAC Painterly paint palette, so it's flesh tone. It won't change how the eyeshadows appear, and I'm just going to take my color switch thing, and I'm just going to clean my brush off so we can test the L'Oreal one. And these L'Oreal pressed pigments literally last all day. They are so good, you guys. So this is what the two look like on the lids. I actually say the L'Oreal one looks a lot more foiled than the Stila one. And if I went out looking like this, you would be able to tell that I'm wearing two different eyeshadows. So Iced Latte is a little bit more icy toned, just very slightly, and Stila Kitten's a little bit more pink toned. But honestly, who's going to be able to tell the difference? I definitely think the L'Oreal one is a better alternative than Stella's Kitten. I like it a lot better, so this definitely gets like a million thumbs up for me. You guys know I love my wing liner, so now we're going to be testing out the Kat Von D Tattoo Eyeliner versus the NYX Epic Ink Liner. Again, NYX on this side. So the tips of both of these pens are identical. I would say the Kat Von D one is maybe slightly more precise, but really it doesn't make a difference. The NYX one is definitely a lot more watery. Alright, so our eyeliner is done, and like I said, the NYX one is a lot more watery, so if you guys can see in my inner corner, it did bleed quite a bit. But I think for the price point, you really can't repurchase the tattoo liner when you have the Epic Ink Liner. They both last like literally all day. They don't smudge, they don't move, and they can barely come off with makeup remover. So for me, these two are definitely dupes for one another. So next we're going to be doing eyebrows. This is the Anastasia Dip Brow Pomade and the NYX Tame and Frame Tinted Brow Pomade. So I'm using the Anastasia one on this side. You guys know I love this brow pomade. It's a lot it's not like the Benefit one where you have to keep dipping back in, and it does, like, when you put your brush in it, it leaves like an imprint. I know the Benefit one doesn't do that because it's kind of like a harder gel formula. And now we're going to be using the NYX one on this side. So this is kind of like a happy medium between the Anastasia consistency and the Benefit consistency. It's also a lot less user-friendly compared to the Anastasia one because it is so pigmented. Alright, so these are the finished brows, and even though they do have kind of a different consistency, I think they look pretty much identical. I definitely think these two are dupes. They also last all day on my eyebrows. It's amazing, so I love these two. Next we're going to do blush, and this is the famous Tarte Exposed blush and the Milani Romantic Rose Powder Blush in the shade 01. So these swatches definitely look identical, so I'm very hopeful for this one. So Milani on this side. So Tarte Exposed is literally my favorite blush shade, so I think it's just really funny that I had two of practically the same shade in my collection. But this is what they look like on. You guys can see it pretty much identical, so this one is definitely a dupe. Next we're going to go in with some highlighter. So this is the Becca Champagne Pop Highlighter, and I am going to be using the Wet n Wild Boozy Brunch Highlighter as the dupe for it. I did go ahead and depot it and I popped it in a MAC palette, but this is Boozy Brunch. Again, the swatches look pretty much identical. Really, you can't tell the difference. They are such beautiful, beautiful highlights. So Wet n Wild on this side and Champagne Pop on this side. So in the swatches, you can't tell a difference, and definitely on your face, you cannot tell a difference. So amazing, amazing. I did not know these were dupes either. I did have them just in my collection, so definitely a dupe. And the final products we're going to be testing is Kat Von D's Lolita and the NYX Lingerie Liquid Lipstick in the shade Exotic. So swatch-wise, NYX's Exotic is a little bit more like terracotta orangey, whereas Lolita is a little bit more of a mauve tone, and that really doesn't change when they dry down, but we will see what they look like on the lips. So Lolita I'm actually going to do on the bottom of my lip, and then the NYX one is going to be on the top. And I just love the formula of these Kat Von D lipsticks. They're so good. These NYX ones, on the other hand, ugh. So on the lips, I definitely think these two are color dupes. I was not expecting that because they looked really different in the swatches, but formula-wise, I would go with the Kat Von D one. It's just such a more like comfortable liquid lipstick. It's a little bit more watery, whereas the NYX ones are so like thick and whipped, but when they dry down, they get so gross and cracky. It looks absolutely awful. So while this is a color dupe, I hate the formula of the NYX Lingerie liquid lipsticks, so this is going to be a thumbs down for me. So this is the finished look, and I thought this was a very successful video. We ended up finding a lot of dupes, and I think we only had one or two that wasn't a dupe. I'm definitely planning on doing more of these in the future, so stay tuned for those. And if you guys didn't notice, I did change my upload schedule to Monday, Wednesday, and Friday. But anyways, yeah, I want to thank you guys so much for watching. I love you, and I'll see you in my next video. Bye! So today's video is going to be a Pinterest Tubes tested, yes. Go to the Soul Shadow Palette. Oh, Shadow Palette. So this is the Honest. There's a guy mowing the lawn outside. Okay. He's back. Go away.